What's up, y'all? In toxic masculinity, you become a real man by doing three things. Athletic skills, by dominating in that sense, by objectifying women, and by having money. So, but I'm gonna take it a little further because ultimately, even the athletic part is really what Manny Thomas was talking about. It really comes down to violence. So the dude, the coldest football player in high school, what it always came down to was, okay, yeah, you can ball, but I can beat your ass. And that's what was ultimately was gonna decide who was the man and who wasn't, is if I can beat your ass, then I'm coming up on top. We probably never heard anybody say anything like, well, he objectifies women, therefore I feel like he's a real man. Nobody says that. But instead of saying objectifying women, what are some of the things that we hear in the community where we're talking about, oh, he's a real one because he objectifies women? He's a pimp. He's a player. He got hoes. He got bitches, right? These are some of the ways that we prop a man up. Same thing with violence. We might not say, oh, he's willing to be violent, therefore I respect his manhood. Nobody says that. But what people might say is, oh, he's with the bullshit. He's with it. What else?
He got hands.
He's with the business. He got hands. He's down.
Watch out, he ain't no punk.
He's not a punk, or he's
Watch
a good
out,
dude.
He's not a punk.
They call him knockout.
Ben gave us the 50s one.
Ben went straight to the 50s. Watch out, he's not a punk, guys.
And the money one, I mean, the money one is pretty much self-explanatory. So in our cultures, we could see how we buy into toxic masculinity. We might not use the same language they would use in a video with a bunch of psychologists, but we're familiar with this, with what toxic masculinity is. Raise your hand and say that you were raised being taught that you should embrace that. So again, if you're really willing to be honest, who actually did embrace it? So we're gonna talk about why.
What was the other option?
Hold on. I ain't wrote on the board yet. And that was too deep for me, I didn't have an answer yet. So we're not just acting like this for no reason. We didn't make this stuff up on our own. Why do we buy into this? What are some of the payoffs we get for buying into toxic masculinity? Okay, you get to be the boss.
Glory.
Glory.
Reputation.
Somebody said acceptance. Self-esteem. I'm gonna say pride too, because that's a good one. Now, what are the costs, the long-term costs of buying into this? Life sentence.
Life sentence.
Death. I'm gonna get yours too, Chris. That was bomb though. Emotionally dead.
Unsatisfied, brother.
Ooh, I was about to say.
Bad relationships.
Loneliness.
Okay. So just based on seeing it up here, I mean, I feel like it's an obvious question, but do the payoffs seem like they're worth the cost? Absolutely not. And yet we do it all the time. So when a whole culture, right, we all do this individually. As individual men, we buy into this stuff. But when the whole culture around us buys into this, including women and all that, kids, when everybody in the society is buying into this, or most people are buying into this, we describe that culture as a patriarchal culture. So so people often say, what's the difference between toxic masculinity and patriarchy? Toxic masculinity is what I'm doing just with my masculinity on the day-to-day. But when everybody on my block, everybody in my city, everybody in my state, everybody in my country is feeling that to some level, we have what's called a patriarchal society, which is not to be mixed up with the more traditional definition of the word patriarchy, which means like male leadership. Certainly we're not saying that it's bad to be a male and be a leader. We're just saying that you don't deserve to be a leader just because you're male. What's some other stuff that grows out of that when everybody's believing in that?
Oppression.
What do you mean?
Well, it oppressed me in a way to where I was not even able to express my emotions. It specifically oppresses women. Like when I think about it, how many female presidents have there been in the United States of America? And I think the answer is none. And I ask why. Maybe it has something to do with patriarchy.
I think there's gay bashing. You know what I mean? Not only just with dudes, but in church, wherever you are. You know what I mean?
Homophobia. But we'll often use gay as a code word to say, you're not following the rules. You're not doing this, so you must be gay. Why are you simping to her, bro? That's hella gay. Like, why are you being nice to her like that? Or, oh, he ain't trying to fight? That nigga's a faggot. Even though a lot of that stuff has nothing to do with homosexuality or whatever. So gangbanging is one. Like domestic violence is one. You gotta put her in check, put her in her place, whatever.
You know, she was dressed like she wanted it. Like you taking the blame off the act you committed and putting it on the person that's the victim of it.
Bomb. So I want to talk about that a little bit. That specific kind of victim blaming is called rape culture. People who rape are not just these random monsters that climb up out of the swamp. These people exist in our culture, and we make it okay. We make them think it's okay to do that when we do shit like, oh, well, what would, if a girl gets raped, we'll say things like, well, what was she wearing? Why was she even over there? Why was she drinking? And putting it all on her. Bomb. That's so true. Who grew up in a house where you were afraid of your parents? Or times when you felt like maybe you questioned if they loved you or not. So that's the kind of atmosphere of fear. We're all pretty clear on the problem. What's the solution? Roy got a quote for us that we're going to use.
This is a book called The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. She's one of the leading feminists that writes about patriarchy. And this is a quote right here by her. It says, by learning the art of compartmentalization, dissimulation, and disassociation, men are able to see themselves as acting with integrity in cases where they are not. Their learned state of psychological denial is severe, since most men have been socialized to believe that compartmentalization is a positive practice. It feels right, it feels comfortable. To practice integrity, then, it is difficult, it hurts. Peck makes the crucial point. Integrity is painful, but without it, there can be no wholeness. To be whole, men must practice integrity.
So what she's saying is that the solution to patriarchy is to have integrity, which if like the quote said, if you think of the word integrated, being one person, being all the way whole. So not cutting off your emotions and putting them over here. I only express my emotions with these people. Or not saying, this is what's important to me up until over here, but I'm in prison, so I gotta act a certain way. Or I'm in a street, so I gotta act a certain way. Or I'm from this neighborhood, or I had this kind of background, so I gotta act a certain way. But being one person, being that person who, whoever you put on your top 5, those goals, those people you love, living for them all the time. Even when the whole culture is saying, be like this, are you willing to put your top 5 first in those moments? And ultimately, that's a choice that you're gonna have to make. But that's what we're offering, is that is a choice that you have. You can put your top 5 first and decide to be one person. Not one person with your family and one person with the homies, but one person. And that's the solution to this. If we all do that, then we build a new culture with a new tree. Thank you.